Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. China and their affiliates in the U.S. press corps are about to pull a huge climate propaganda coup. The Winter Olympic Games start next week, and they're going to be held entirely on artificial snow. The reason is because they're holding the Olympics in a place which normally receives no precipitation during the winter. It's very dry there, and almost all of the precipitation that does fall occurs during the summer. And the press is quite predictably ramping up the propaganda. Climate change is endangering Winter Olympic sports. Climate change and rising global temperatures threaten a number of things on planet Earth, from public health to biodiversity loss to hotter winters and traditionally cold climates. And as global heating continues to get worse, in the near future we could find ourselves without anywhere cold and snowy enough for the Olympics. The Winter Olympics are being held in a place where there's normally no precipitation during the winter. But you can be certain the press will blame the lack of snow on climate change. The day of the opening ceremony, February 4th, is forecast to be one of the coldest days on record in the United States. Almost every state will be in the deep freeze on February 4th, and parts of the Midwest will be below minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. In the following weekend, there's going to be almost no wind in the United States. People who are dependent on green energy for their survival are going to be in a lot of trouble next weekend. This propaganda coup has been going on for a long time. 4 years ago, the New York Times wrote essentially the same story. Of 21 Winter Olympic cities, many may soon be too warm to host the games. But apparently nature doesn't read the New York Times, because the opening ceremonies in 2018 in Korea were the coldest ever. Despite the record cold, climate alarmists were very upset at NBC about not promoting global warming at the Games. 4 years earlier, the Winter Olympics were held at a place with a subtropical climate. Sochi has palm trees. It's a great place for a beach holiday, but not somewhere you'd want to go to ski. And the 2010 Games at Vancouver were also a propaganda coup. There was an El Niño at the time that kept temperatures quite warm, which the press of course blamed on climate change. Vancouver just had one of their coldest Decembers on record, but you can be quite certain there's been no mea culpa or retraction from the press. So why did the International Olympic Committee again choose a location which normally doesn't receive snow? They're extracting huge amounts of groundwater from the desert to create the fake snow for the Olympics. This will be the least green Olympic Games on record. Climate change isn't the problem, but China is creating their own environmental disaster. The reality is that autumn and winter snow cover in the northern hemisphere has been increasing for the past 60 years. As is normally the case, the propaganda will be the exact opposite of reality. 90 years ago, nobody would have thought of holding the Winter Olympics in the desert. The 1932 Winter Olympics were held at Lake Placid, New York. The 1932 Games almost had to be canceled because there wasn't any snow. Record warm temperatures during January 1932 melted all of the snow in the Northeast. This map shows maximum temperatures reached during January 1932. Red dots show places which reached 60 degrees and purple dots show places which reached 70. 25 of the lower 48 states were over 70 degrees during January 1932. That's not a problem this year, and we're facing historic cold next week. 1932 wasn't the only Winter Olympics which almost had to be canceled because of a lack of snow. In 1960, Squaw Valley, California had no snow a few days before the Games started. They got lucky though, and the rain changed to snow just before the Games started. One thing for certain is that you're a lot more likely to have snow if you don't plan the Olympic Games for the desert. But if what they're looking for is a propaganda event, the Chinese venue is a fine choice. You can be quite certain that television coverage will be very focused on the artificial snow. Toto hopes that people stay warm next weekend. He's got lots of wood and is going to be sitting in front of a warm fire. You can visit Toto, Kyrie, and Caesar on the web at realclimatescience.com.